Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be talking about a very interesting small cap company, jiska market cap is hardly 572 crore. And this company is, targeting a growth rate of 25 to 30%. So we will see what kind of company it is. Can they, will they be able to achieve it? If they are targeting this kind of guidance, what is the plan to achieve it and everything? I believe from the title of the video and from the thumbnail, you already know that we will be discussing the company's name is called as Chandan Healthcare. Okay, so what got me interesting was two things. One is the fact that the guidance is there, and there is a plan to execute this guidance, and we will see that further in the video. And the second part was, if you look at the investors that are there, one of the investors is Acharya Manish, who is also your Gina Sikoka founder, and I've followed his work over a period of time, and I've seen the kind of businesses he's invested in, whether it is this Chandan Healthcare. Woman Cart is another business that he's an angel investor in that business. And he likes this. I believe somehow our investment philosophy is the same. He loves the small companies that are there, and who are targeting this exceptional growth rate, who are doing crazy expansion, and the kind of companies that are not going to sacrifice your bottom line, just to chase growth. It's everything. It's growth, your leverage, your operating leverage, increase your PAT margin, increase the more number of stores. Literally, like when you talk about the investment checklist that we have, right? A lot of you guys have attended the investment checklist workshop. You have purchased the investment checklist workshop, so you can like all the pointers that we have discussed, right? I believe it is the same that even he has, when he's investing. So that's what got me interested, and the more I read about it, I was like, wow, very interesting business model. So I thought I'm going to share it with you guys. Okay, so we'll start discussing about this. What I'm going to do is, we will start by sharing the screen. And another thing, guys, a lot of you might complain ki like, oh, video quality is not that great. But here's the thing. One is, if I have to like share my screen and like do a video, then the only option for me is like, not be dependent on a third party or anything, is do it via Google Meet, which means I'll have to do it on my MacBook. And let's just be honest, MacBook camera is not that great, right? Compared to your iPhone and everything. So yeah, that's the thing. Anyways, we'll be discussing about Chandan Healthcare. So first, let us understand what is the business model of Chandan Healthcare like. But before we go, is Chandan Healthcare का what is the company structure? इसका पहले जान लेते हैं, ठीक है? अगर आप ये Chandan Healthcare देखते हो, it is a part of this Chandan group of companies, ठीक है? As you can see, Chandan group of companies is like your parent company. Under that, there are many other sub companies that are there. Okay, they have these hospitals. Totally, you can see, right? Lucknow में एक hospital है. I think लखनऊ में दो हॉस्पिटल है, राइट? 225 एंड 150 बेड रिस्पेक्टिवली. हल्द्वानी में एक हॉस्पिटल है. सो अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस ग्रुप ऑफ कंपनी का उनका एक सब्सिडरी है इस हॉस्पिटल. देन दे हैव दिस डायग्नोस्टिक्स एंड फार्मेसी. डायग्नोस्टिक्स मतलब आपका नॉर्मल जो है, वेर यू गो एंड गेट योर चेकअप्स, यू गेट योर ईसीजी, ऑल दैट वेरियस अदर थिंग्स. देन यू हैव योर फार्मेसी, ऑब्वियसली आपका मेडिकल शॉप्स जो है दैट. एंड फार्मास्यूटिकल्स मतलब आप जो मैन्युफैक्चर करते हो थोड़ा, that is a completely different. So under Chandan group of companies, there are, like I told you, 3 to 4 verticals that are there. Okay, now when you talk about Chandan Healthcare, which is a listed company, उसके अंदर दो चीज आता है, which is the diagnostic and the pharmacy thing. ठीक है? As you can see, these two things, diagnostic and pharmacy, come under Chandan Healthcare. Okay, that is all you have to know. यहाँ पे I don't want to confuse you guys. Okay, I will explain you why did I talk about this entire group of companies. You'll get to know later in the subsequent part of the video. So this is उसका company structure. हम इसका business model थोड़ा समझते हैं कि like business में क्या करता है. So if you look at Chandan Healthcare, there are two types of services. One is sale of products, the other is sale of service. Okay, now अगर आप sale of product देखते हो, this is similar to Gina Seco, guys, like the same to same, right? Even they have sale of product and sale of services. The only difference is वहाँ पे जो sale of product होता है in Gina Seco, वो खुद का product है. मतलब आचार्य मनीष ने बनाया है, खुद का पेटेंट है, खुद का शॉप में सेल करता है, right? Unlike over here in Chandan Healthcare, this sale of product is nothing but आपका pharmacies. Remember यहाँ पे था ना, where I was explaining you guys. How do I go back? Yeah, I was explaining you guys, diagnostics है, pharmacy है. So this फार्मेसी पार्ट इज नथिंग बट आपका सेल ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स. नाउ यहाँ पे सेल ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स का मतलब क्या है, राइट? नाउ इनका यहाँ पे फार्मेसी शॉप्स है, दे हैव अराउंड 45 फार्मेसी का शॉप्स अक्रॉस योर टायर 2 एंड टायर 3 सिटीज. बेसिकली आपका ये इट वर्क्स एज अ होलसेल सेंटर ओनली, यू नो दे केटर टू ऑल दिस बिग हॉस्पिटल्स. खुद का हॉस्पिटल के लिए भी सप्लाई करता है आपका टैबलेट्स, आपका सिरिंज, आपका यू नो वेरियस अदर एक्सरे का फाइल्स, you know whatever is needed for hospitals, you know all of this. Again, this sale of product is a wholesale division. It is not a retail division per se. Okay, like it's not like you and I can go and buy. As much as at least I am aware of from what I read in the DRHP, in the annual report and everything, I hope I'm right about this, because ye pura ka pura wholesale hai. It is only for hospitals. A part of it goes obviously to unka khud ka hospital, Chandan ka hospital jo hai Lucknow mein, right? It goes over there. And the other for other hospitals, other diagnostic centers, जहाँ पे you will need this X-ray का film आपको चाहिए, gauge, all this syringes, tablets and everything. यहाँ पे इसका अगर आप देखते हो सेल ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स में, दिस फार्मेसी डिविजन में, you will see that the EBITDA margin over here is 6%. Okay, hardly very छोटा. Now obviously over here it is a completely B2B business. यहाँ पे margins कम होता है. You also do not have any product of your own. यहाँ पे sale of products जो चलता है, खुद का प्रोडक्ट नहीं बेचता है, somebody else is making it. Like for example सिप्ला का tablets आप directly सिप्ला का कंपनी से खरीद रहे हो and you are selling it to hospitals and other people. Now the advantage that these people have over here is they're cutting out the middlemen. Okay, matlab right, otherwise there will be like so many other stockists and distributors and everything. So obviously आपका जो margins है will be less. अगर आप खुद का hospital के लिए भी खरीद रहे हो, आपका प्राइस ज्यादा होता है. So यहाँ पे उन्होंने क्या किया, खुद का एक सब्सिडरी डाल दिया कि like in that way what will happen, आपका in that way due to this क्या होता है, पूरा middleman को हटा देते हैं and the what do you call that, the prices becomes 40% cheaper unka while doing this. So this is the first part, the main part, you can tell sale of products 47%. Again I'm rephrasing this. These people don't sell their own products. ये companies को चुनता है, such as Cipla and other people. They buy the medicines, unka tablet, unka syringes and everything, and then they sell it to various other hospitals. पूरा का पूरा wholesale का division है, and they have total as of Q1 of FY26 they had around 45 wholesale shops that are there. ठीक है. Then the second part of the business is the most interesting part of the business, which is sale of service, which contributes around 53%. इस sale of service में there are two types. Obviously sale of service का मतलब क्या है, आप कुछ सर्विस दे रहे हो. यहाँ पे कौन सी सर्विस है, डायग्नोस्टिक सेंटर्स. ठीक है, that's it, as simple as that. ये एक डायग्नोस्टिक सेंटर का where you go check for your ECG, आपका अल्ट्रासाउंड, आपका एक्सरेज, रेडियोलॉजी सर्विस, आपको शायद you would need to get some blood test done and all of it. This is what they do. Pure to pure ये sale of services, a pure diagnostic play, similarly to what you have of Dr. Lal Path Lab, Thyrocare, आपका Vijay Diagnostics and all of it. Okay, so इस sale of service में 38% comes from pathology and the other 15% comes from radiology. इसका अगर आप bifurcation देखते हो. Now you might ask me like, Prerna, I understand कि like ठीक है यहाँ पे sale of service and everything. What is the advantage that these people have? Because when you talk, see, first of all, यहाँ पर भी कोई advantage नहीं है, right? Sale of products में, because you're merely trading यहाँ पे, and more or less it is खुद का hospital and other hospitals के लिए तुम थोड़ा, since there is no middleman, you're directly dealing with the company and the customer. आपका, यहाँ पे you are able to sell the products for a bit cheaper price to your competitors, and आपको थोड़ा margins बनता है यहाँ पे. That is one part. यहाँ पर, so it's not really quite interesting over here. Sale of service also, maybe you might also ask me, right? मतलब अरे यार डायग्नोस्टिक कंपनी है, मतलब इतना सारा डायग्नोस्टिक कंपनी है, राइट? मतलब you see that, right? कि like first of all अगर आप देखते हो लिस्टेड स्पेस में हमारा डॉक्टर लाल पाथ लैब एंड थायरोकेयर एंड ऑल ऑफ इट आर देयर, एंड these people are so efficient because and even you have in the unlisted space अगर आप देखते हो the two common thing is Tata 1mg and Apollo, right? You just book the test on the phone, somebody is going to come to your house, they're going to pick up and you get the reports and everything, right? If not for that, if that is one way of doing it, right? The other way of doing it is obviously you go to the hospitals. जब आप hospitals में consultation के लिए जाते हो, you have the laboratory over there itself, right? Who will do everything. So what exactly is the advantage over here? इसका क्या scene है, मतलब कि like ये थोड़ा interesting बन सकता है. So iska, let us go a dig deep little bit in terms of this diagnostic. The first thing is they are targeting tier 2 and tier 3 cities, because even if you look at all these big players that are there in our listed space, right, Metropolis, Thyrocare and everything, you will see most of them are concentrated in tier 1 cities, right? Tier 2 and tier 3 mein thoda gap hai yahan pe, right? They're not able to penetrate as easily. So unka pehla cheez hai ki like tier 2 and tier 3 mein jo gap hai, I will come and attack that part, okay? And that is the first thing. सेकेंड थिंग ओवर हियर उनका ये बोलना है कि लाइक भाई मुझे ये ऐप वैप में नहीं जाना है, राइट? बिकॉज अगर ऐप में जाते हो, टेस्ट बुक करते हो एंड एवरीथिंग, इट बिकम्स अ वेरी हाईली कंपेटिटिव एनवायरमेंट, बिकॉज व्हाट विल हैपन इज पीपल विल स्टार्ट कंपेयरिंग द प्राइसेस. दे विल बी लाइक टाटा 1 mg में इतना है, दिस इन दिस इट इज सो मच. इट इज अगेन नॉट समथिंग दैट इज फीजिबल. इनका पूरा बिजनेस मॉडल ऐसा चलता है, अगेन दीस पीपल आर ओनली अ लैबोरेटरी सर्विस, सिर्फ एक डायग्नोस्टिक सर्विस करता है, राइट? नाउ यू गो टू certain hospitals, you go to like a tier 2 tier 3 city ka hospital, they might not have like a standalone hospital over there. They might not have all the facilities of your radiology, ultrasound and everything. Or for example, you might go to a clinic and your doctor is telling you to get some tests done. Obviously a clinic will not have it, so they work with this group of doctors that are there, who will refer them to to unka diagnostic center. That is where the entire business model ka how do you tell, the entire business model ka differentiation comes. They've got a group of doctors who's going to refer them into this diagnostic center, a part of it being their own very own hospital in Lucknow and the other location, okay? And the other thing is, yahan pe agar aap dekhte ho, like I told you, in diagnostic they do provide you everything, pathology se leke radiology, ultrasound, aapka normal blood test, sugar test, everything, matlab pura ka pura test aapko deta hai. How does this test happen? Like, who do they cater to? Because even when you talk about a diagnostic center, there are many types. You have something like Thyrocare, which works on a completely franchise model. You have something like a Dr. Lal Path Lab, which has a lot of collection centers. Tata 1mg, jo ghar mein aake aapka collect karta hai. Then you have something like a Vijay Diagnostic, which is like, bhai, main ye sab nahi karne wala hu. Mera to pura ek standalone building hai. You come here and get the test done. You have to walk into the building to get the test done. So what exactly, how do these people work? Unka dono hai. They also have a home collection where they come, home collection center, where you can expect that the phlebotomist to come over here and book the take your sample and everything. Plus they also have walk-ins. Matlab ek standalone building hota hai. You go there, aapka basically, let me show you this picture. Yeah, patient ek wo building mein aata hai. They might have gotten the unka ek, maybe the doctor has told you to get certain X test done. They will come, they will give you this वो एक receipt देता है कि like doctor has asked me to get so and so test done. वहाँ पे the receptionist will go, they will do all the charges and उसका एक bill बनाता है, registration करता है. Then they are gone to a room, sample collect करता है, then it is sent to a laboratory to process, and फिर उसका report आप अपना customer को देता है. So this is how it is done. Most of it, again, like I told you, since the entire business model works on a referral basis, like all this tier 2 tier 3 cities में जो clinics है, जो standalone hospitals है, these people go and they send the they send the patients over here, and then after that iska yahan pe test hota hai. Again, another, so this is one part, right? Like how is the entire business model working, or how is the differentiation like? The second differentiation over here is, who do they cater to? Do they cater to people like you and me? We just want to get a test done. If you look at it, unka is diagnostic center mein there are three divisions. One is B2C, which is people like you and me can just walk in and get our test done. We have a prescription, we get the test done, right? The second is B2B. They work with a group of hospitals. Like I told you in the first part of the video itself, these people work on a referral basis. So they are in connection with a lot of these hospitals in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, right? Jiske paas, where the hospitals might not have all these equipments and laboratories. So what they do is they collect the blood sample, the urine sample, whatever is required, and they send it into INCA. They send it to this Chandan Healthcare ka laboratory to get the test done. Okay, and these people will give the report, and then so basically they work with hospitals jiska hospital ke paas ye entire diagnostic ka setup nahi hota hai. The third is B2G, with the government hospitals and everything, in a public private partnership, similar to with Krishna, they work over here. So if you look at it, B2C, B2B and B2G, you can see over here, if you can see roughly 37 percent comes from in the diagnostic center. Agar aap dekhte ho, 37% comes from B2C, where a patient, like I told you, this process that I explained to you, patient will walk in and they do all of these things. B2B, where you work with various chains of hospitals and clinics, and those people will collect the sample. Your job is to just do the test result and send them, and generate a report and send it back to the hospital. And the last is B2G, where it is going to be a public private partnership. I do not have much clarity on this, to be very honest, on how this entire B2G works. Like, does it work similar to Krishna, where where the state government will put up the entire facility, and all you have to do is go operate the test over there and provide a report and everything? This is not much, to be very honest. I do not have clarity on. I'll be very honest about it. And this B2G portion contributes 22%. Overall, if you see, if I add sale of products and the sale of services, both of this, sale of product and sale of services, and if I look at the combined B2B portion of the business that is coming, that is roughly 70%. 70% of the business is B2B, including, on a combined basis, that is sale of product, B2B ka diagnostic service, everything that comes from it. So thoda yahan pe it is unlike your thyrocare, unlike your Dr. Lal Path Lab. It is much more oriented into like B2B, unlike them, which is a B2C kind of business. Okay. Now, yahan pe, if you look at it, why are they not letting go of this B2B and B2G businesses? Because the margin is also quite good, because if you look at the entire EBITDA margin for the B2C business, it is around 33%, and aapka B2G is your highest margin. Surprisingly, that is around 40% EBITDA margin. Again, I do not know how they are making 40% EBITDA margin over here. A bit shaky regarding that over here. And iska agar aap dekhte ho, where are they present in? Like I told you, it is a very small company, 572 crore ka market cap hai. They are primarily present in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and this Uttar Pradesh contributes around 65 to 70% of the total revenue, and then followed by Uttarakhand. Recently, in this year, that is the beginning of this year, they entered into Rajasthan and Bihar, Patna. They acquired a diagnostic center in Bihar, Patna, and they expanded the geographical presence into Rajasthan. It is still in a very nascent stage. Rajasthan and Bihar mein sirf ek hi diagnostic center hai. It is still, like I told you, nascent. Hardly, it doesn't contribute much. Hardly 1% combined basis mein it contributes. Pura ka pura aata hai UK and Uttar Pradesh se. Now, other than that, if you see, unka jo khud ka hospital hai, like I was talking about over here, right? This hospital, this yahan par bhi, obviously patients come, you have to get the test done and everything. These people will send it to unka diagnostic center to generate the test and give the report. So iska contribution to the Chandan Healthcare, Chandan group of companies ka hospitals contribution to the Chandan Healthcare is 6 crore. If you look at FY25 mein, out of 230 crore in revenue, 6 crore of revenue came from, Chandan Hospital, since them giving the contract. So very minimal, you can tell, hardly any contribution from Chandan Hospitals. Majority comes from, unka hi khud ka B2C, B2B and B2G ka networks. And obviously the other part comes from sale of products. Okay. So I hope right now, if you're watching this video, if you're stuck till here, I think now you quite understand ki, like, iska business model kya hai. You can see over here, right, inka 20 plus years of experience in industry. Look at the number of tests they conduct, the number of radiology tests they conduct, the amount of tests they have done, right, total patients that they have served. All in all, great. They are present across 35 cities and 4 states. 4 state is basically Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and the recent 2 additions, that is Rajasthan and Bihar. Okay. Now let us talk about, like I told you, what makes it interesting, right? Like I told you, these people are targeting a 25 to 30% kind of growth for this upcoming year, that is FY26, that is 25-26 this year. So how are they planning to do this 25-26, 25 to 30% का growth? मतलब इतना bullishness क्यों आ रहा है कि like भाई तुम चिल्ला के बोल रहे हो कि like तुम 25 to 30% का growth करोगे? That is one thing. Okay. So पहला बात, before I go into the guidance and everything, let us see, because Q2 is anyways going to come in what? Like today is October 6th, and in another 10 days, October 15th से तो Q2 is चालू होने वाला है. Q1 में what have they done? Have they really walked their talk? मतलब, how has it been? Q1 में अगर आप देखते हो, as you can see, the entire matlab total sales. By the way, this is a small cap company, guys, so these people give out result only in the half year, that is H1 and H2, Q2 and Q4 respectively. सिर्फ Q1 में इन्होंने पहली बार अपडेट देना चालू कर दिया. अपडेट में क्या डिफरेंस है कंपेयर टू रिजल्ट? अपडेट में यू ओनली गेट टू नो कि लाइक बाय सेल्स कितना हो चुका है. समटाइम्स यू विल गेट टू नो SSG या स्टोर काउंट, मतलब अगर आपने स्टोर्स किया, इन दिस केस डायग्नोस्टिक सेंटर, इफ यू हैड एनी प्लान, कितना आपने खोला एंड एवरीथिंग, दैट इज द ओनली थिंग. You do not get the complete picture, unlike the result season, where you get the volume growth, where you get the bottom line mein kya hua and everything. So if you look at it, Q1 FY25, if you see what do you call that? Kya bol rahi hu main? The sales grew by the sales grew by 25%, which is in line with the guidance that they have given, right? So totally यहाँ पे उन्होंने 65 crore किया है compared to in this year in Q1 of FY26. Okay, other than that you will also see, I will explain about these three later, ये जो 3 centers उन्होंने खोला है. Now let's go मुद्दे का बात करते हैं कि like इसका ये 25 to 30% का guidance उन्होंने दिया है. How do they plan to achieve it? Like, what is the plan to do so? The first thing over here, you have to understand, one of the major problems of this business model is, इनका दो चीज है, right? One is a sale of product and the other one is sale of service. Now, although the sale of service has really high EBITDA margins, right? It ranges from 32 to 40%, depending on B2C to B2G. Versus आपके sale of product जो आप ये medical products आप जो बेचते हो, trade करते हो, that is hardly EBITDA margin of 6%. So now you see, right? Like इसके वजह से क्या हो चुका है, the total margins that is there, it is a bit on a consolidated basis. When you see, it might not look impressive. Only and only because वो sale of products से 45% अभी भी आता है from there. Okay. Now उनका अभी का plan है in the upcoming years, that is there, that is in FY26 and further on, they want to push more in this diagnostic center. मतलब भाई जितना हो सकते है diagnostic center खोलो, even in that also push more towards your B2C. Okay, that is what they are trying to do. Now how are they trying to do? पहला तो उनका जो खुद का where they have a very strong presence, that is in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, they want to expand further and further over there, and after that they want to start entering into new states. Already in this year the plan was to enter to 5 states, out of which Rajasthan and Bihar has already been done, and they will obviously go and expand further over there. But other than that, what they're doing, going to new states such as Delhi, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. आगे जाके यहाँ पे क्या होगा, these people will work on a like a hub and, oh, by the way, I think I didn't explain this part, right? Now that I'm explaining hub and spoke model, I remembered over here. इनका ये diagnostic center में how does this entire thing work? Okay, मतलब how does this entire thing work is, like these people have collection centers, matlab like where they just collect your blood samples and keep, right? They have around I think 300 odd collection centers. Then they have this satellite center. Satellite center का मतलब क्या है? These are the small laboratories जहाँ पे आपका all this आपका urine test, blood test का सब होता है. But you might not have this big equipments just such as radiology test करना, ultrasound का test करना, X-ray करवाना. Maybe you might have CT scan and all of it, right? ECG करवाना and everything. So first क्या होता है collection center से, like people might they might go to a diagnostic center, वहाँ पे they might collect, they might give the sample, या उनका various like home collection से they might get some things and get the collection centers. ये collection center से अपना satellite center में जाता है, ठीक है? वहाँ पे every test is done and then the report is generated. There are times where when you have this big test, like आपका cancer का कुछ test होना चाहिए, radiological test होना चाहिए, this won't happen in the satellite center. It will go to the center reference laboratory, which is a huge setup जहाँ पे ये MRI machines and everything are there. Okay, so how they do it is over here is, first it goes to the collection center, उसके बाद if not it goes to satellite center. If the test is not able to be conducted in satellite center, then it goes to the center reference laboratory. In this way they can target the entire geography. ठीक है? मतलब see, think about it now, how many people would want MRI and all everything? It's quite rare compared to, let's say, getting a normal blood culture test, right? So that is the thing. This is how they want to work. This is the entire hub and spoke model that that they work on. Basically, a lot of collection centers will be there, right? A lot of collection centers जहाँ पे आपका ये blood samples and everything will get collected. Then it will go to a satellite center. वहाँ पे अगर नहीं होता तो then you get redirected to the center. Now obviously not all the tests happen in the main center laboratory. Only those very hi-fi, very expensive tests जो होते हैं, very rare cases, only that goes to the center laboratory. So in this way क्या होता है? Let's say for example, like in a place like Delhi, for example, you can have one big center, right? Center reference laboratory. Then you can have probably like 35 satellite satellite centers, and probably 300 collection centers. In this way क्या होता है, every गली में आपका collection center है, and then this collection center will send it to satellite center में नहीं होता है, then they will go to the center reference laboratory. This is exactly how the hub and spoke model works. Another better way for you to explain the hub and spoke model is the airports, because I do not know, right? Because see, now that I'm shooting a video, like I do not know if you guys are able to understand what I'm trying to convey to you. Like when I read something, like for example, I read this Chandan Healthcare yesterday. I've heard about it. I just never bothered to read it in the last 2 weeks. I read it yesterday. I read it in 5-10 minutes. Like I completely covered the DRHP annual report, everything. Tuck, 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 tuck. I finished it. But when I have to explain it to somebody, like it takes time. So I do not know if I'm able to convey what's in my head to you guys. Okay. But anyways, like hub and spoke model, another good example over here is airport that I was talking. Like for example, if you come from a tier 2 city in Karnataka, like maybe Mangalore or Belgaum, not how many people go to, like let's say France, let's say Dubai, or like somewhere in America, right? So it makes no sense to give you direct connectivity from Mangalore to America. But so what will happen, they will give you a connecting flight, right? Bangalore se there. So Bangalore acts like a hub. यहाँ पे सारा international flights, national flights सब आता है. Versus Mangalore airport is like a spoke model, which जहाँ से आपका connecting होता है. So I hope you can understand hub and spoke model. Another good example of hub and spoke model is also your Rainbow Children hospitals. Anyways, I think we're digressing. Let's come back. Now, like I told you, the entire expansion plan over here, how they plan to achieve the 25 to 30% is pushing more towards the B2C side of the diagnostic space. And even over there, to go and do massive expansion. मतलब आपका geographical footprint बढ़ाना in the existing state as well as going to newer states. Okay. Now, if you look at it, they have 40 diagnostic centers as we are talking right now by the end of FY25. That is Q4 of FY25. They had 40 diagnostic centers, and they wanted to add 9 diagnostic centers in FY26. Okay, that is roughly kitna 22 to 25% CAGR, right? उसमें अगर आप that the volume growth आपका कितना रहे 25% CAGR आ रहा है for this year. उसमें आप add कर लो 5% शायद आपका price hike हो सकता है, या वरना आपका product mix is better, right? Because radiology शायद अगर more people are coming for radiology, then obviously आपका price radiology is more compared to getting a normal blood test done, to check your red blood cells. So obviously maybe better product mix, and you can assume कि like price hike के वजह से आपका 5% आ सकता है, so you might get that 30%. But this 25% you can see, right? पूरा का पूरा calculation कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? Volume growth से आ रहे हैं, because volume growth कहाँ से आ रहे हैं यहाँ पे? Expansion. Now out of this 9 the diagnostic centers that are there, 2 has already been done. उनका एक plan था that they wanted to add this center reference laboratory that I was telling you, right? जो बड़ा एक laboratory होता है उनका, they wanted to add that one in Lucknow, okay? And they've already done it in Q1 of FY25 का update के हिसाब से, Chandan Healthcare opening state of the art diagnostic center in Ashiana, Lucknow. I hope this is the one. The problem over here with this company, I'll tell you, ये कॉल नहीं करता है, right? So that is the only problem. So ढूंढ के उसको, you will have to find it over here. So my guess is it is the same. Other than that, obviously they've entered into Rajasthan and Bihar. That is another good news. So out of this 9 that is there, that they had target to open, they have already opened 2. And the next 7 diagnostic centers that are there, it will be opened, in the upcoming H2. That is, you will also see, right? Unka yahan pe, what is that? They have given a clear timeline as to when will they open. Delhi and Bhopal in September 25, Raipur in October, and so forth and so on. I do not know if this Delhi and Bhopal has been opened because something is wrong with that NSC ka website. Like when you click on that PDF, like it just keeps popping error and error and error for some reason. And in the long term, that is, probably, I do not know what they mean by long term, whether it is a year or 2-3 years. They want to open, as you can see, right, 20 plus new CMC, that is Chandan Medical Centers. CMC is Chandan Medical Centers. They want to open 20 plus new. 20 plus ka matlab kya? 20 se zyada, and probably in 2 to 3 years maybe, or maybe longer than that, no clue on that. But as of now, if you look in just in the FY26 का अगर आप देखते हो, only and only because of the expansion का जो आ रहा है, जो geographical presence, from that increase from the new diagnostic center, you can expect this 20 to 25% का growth that is there. Other than that, ये क्या करे? Like I told you, right? These people are pushing more towards B2C, right? B2C का मतलब क्या? Like patient like you and me can walk in and get it. Now यहाँ पे क्या है? Until now they've had उसका जो 40 यहाँ पे है and this 9 that they are adding, right? This is purely COCO, company owned and company operated. पूरा का पूरा मतलब you are responsible for everything from paying the rent, light bill, employees getting the test and everything. Now recently what they're doing, they want to start growing very aggressively. They are also targeting franchises. Okay, it is still in a very nascent stage. In this year they told they will target franchise ko open karna and everything. There is no solid foundation as of now or an update. But if that franchisee ka thing happens, then I think, like I told, ये जो 20 plus जो बोल रहा है उससे भी ज्यादा करेगा. It can happen. I mean, that's how even Diagnostic started, right? If anybody is known Diagnostic, they started like that. पहले खुद का hospitals था, and then they later started going and doing the franchisee. उसके वजह से network बढ़ने लगा and everything. So now you know why I got so interested in this entire Chandan, what is this Chandan Healthcare? Like I was able to connect the dots because most of Gina is one of my top holdings, right? Like, and if anyone has followed my YouTube channel from very long time, like if you've been here, if you've been a subscriber, I think for like 2+ years, you would have known that I've been speaking about Gina since the last 2 years, right? So that's why when I saw this Chandan Healthcare and I was like, Acharya Manish, I was like, are yaar, like tuck, 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 it just went through my head like that. But anyways, this is how they're planning to do the expansion plan and guidance. So I think if the execution goes right, if they are able to do this, open this seven diagnostic centers that are there in this upcoming H2, then I don't see why they can't do that 22 to 25% kind of growth alone from here. And along with that, if we can see that sale of product that is there, if that comes down, more push is given to B2C, and as a result margins can increase, and we can see even a better product mix change, and better product mix change matlab higher pat margin. It would be like seal the deal kind of situation. Okay, so that's that about the expansion plan and guidance. Now let's talk about the valuation, matlab how lucrative is this opportunity. So I am only going to talk about the 1 year forward P. I know a lot of you will talk about EV by EBITDA and everything. It's just not a part of my checklist. Agar aapko karna hai to kar lo, because ultimately what matters is the bottom line. If the EPS, you can tell me like EV by EBITDA so and so and whatever that is. If the EPS is not growing, you and I will not make money. A good example of that is Max Healthcare. You can complain to me all about EV by EBITDA itna hai, that and everything. It is the fastest growing hospital for the last 1 year in the hospital space, but itna capex kar rahe, uska EPS growth nahi ho raha hai. As a result, you will see the stock will not make money. This is why I take 1 year forward P into consideration, because it gives a complete picture what the EPS ka growth will be like. I mean, I would say it's a much better way to look at it. I know a lot of people might disagree with it, but I mean, this is my investment philosophy. So again, so it's my channel. I'll do, like what I think is my core philosophy, right? Like I can't cater to other people. But anyways, when you talk about the valuation exercise over here, we'll do a 1 year forward P calculation. So if you look at the market cap as of today, which is 6th of October, you will see that the market cap is 572 crore. A lot of you might watch the video later, or a lot of you can come and watch the video later. So whenever you do the, the 1 year forward P calculation, you might find it more. That's because you're not taking the market cap into consideration. Today, the market cap is 572 crore. आगे जाके अगर वो बढ़ता है, गिरता है, right? You will have to adjust the market cap according to the current market cap that is there. So make sure you don't do that mistake. Okay. Then उनका guidance कितना है? 25 to 30% का sales growth. FY25 में sales कितना था? Around 230 crore. So 230 के ऊपर अगर मैं 25 to 30% का sales growth if I'm expecting, then the 1 year, मतलब FY26 का I can expect the sales growth to be somewhere between 288 to 300. Now I think this 288 to 300 is quite achievable, because Q1 में उन्होंने कितना किया? 65 crore. 65 usually for diagnostic centers, Q2 and Q4 are really good seasons. Okay, so if you are able to do 65 crore in Q1, even if you be conservative and extrapolate 65 into 4, or let's say 60 into 4, like just make it easier for calculation purposes. 60 into 4 is like is like what, 6 4 is 24. Even if you take 65 17, take, or let's say the best case scenario is 70 65, take 70 into 4, because why 4? Because 4 quarters, q1 q2 q3 q4, it's around 280 crores, right? Like, and like I told you, q2 q4 are quite a good months for all these diagnostic centers and hospitals. So I do, if looking at the q1 performance, q1 is the leanest quarter out of all the 4 quarters, and if you're able to do 65 crore in q1 itself, I don't see why the entire 25 to 30% kind of growth and achieving this 288 to 300 crore is not possible. It looks much likely to do it. I hope they will be able to deliver. Now, I've taken two situations over here. Case one is where I've taken the PAT margin to be 10.5%, and case two is 13%. Why did I take PAT margin of 10.5? Whenever I like to do a valuation calculation, you would have always seen in all of my videos, I like to be very conservative. Like, I am very optimistic when an opportunity comes forward in my tracking list. I like to give anything a chance. I like to read about it. I like to give it a chance. I am very optimistic, and I would like to believe the management, कि like ये जो बोला है वो करेगा. But at the same time, I like to be pessimistic in terms of valuations. Like, like, I like to think of the worst case scenario first than the best case scenario. Like, I don't want to be overly pessimistic. I can only be overly pessimistic in terms of trusting the management to walk the talk, right? That is the only thing I can do. So the PAT, if you look at the FY25, the full year, if you look at it, or Q4 FY25 also, if you look at it, they ended the PAT margin at around 10.5%. So if that is the case, I'm assuming कि like, शायद because इतना capex कर रहा है, right? मतलब they are, one second guys, just let me once cross check 24 by 230. Yeah. Yeah, what was I talking about? Yeah. So if you, I like to be conservative, and that's why I assumed कि like यहाँ पे again, look at the words that I'm using, assumption. The entire valuation calculation that you and I do, it is based on the assumption कि like blah 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 blah, the XXXXY thing the management will do. That is why you cannot rely much on the, I keep telling you, like, focus more on the execution and less on valuation. Okay, and this is why I keep talking about the growth rate. Now over here, if you look at it, because see, why did I take this conservative is because like I told, itna not diagnostic center add kar raha hai, capex it will be intense, right? So there could be a little bit aberration in terms of bottom line. You do not know. I mean, there is a possibility. So if I take 10.5% ka PAT margin, the PAT margin ka formula is nothing but net profit divided by sales, right? I don't know if I can write it here. Yeah, PAT margin is nothing but net profit divided by sales. So we know the PAT margin is 10.5. We have to figure out the net profit. We know the sales is 288 or 300 crore. PAT margin multiplied into sales, you will get your expected PAT. So if it is a 10.5% PAT margin, the expected PAT for the upcoming year, that is FY26, is around 30 to 31. And the market cap, if for this market cap, and if the company is doing this kind of PAT, you can expect the 1 year forward PE to be somewhere at 18 to 19. On the other hand, I'm being a little bit bullish. Like, ये जो इतना, ये जो कर रहा है, मतलब इतना एक्सपेंशन कर रहा है, नौ डायग्नोस्टिक सेंटर्स खोल रहा है, शायद उसका सेल ऑफ प्रोडक्ट थोड़ा कम होगा, उसका शायद B2C से और भी ज्यादा डिमांड आ जाएगा. Maybe there will be a product mix change, even in not just between sale of product and sale of service, because like I told you, sale of product is hardly 6% margin, versus sale of service, diagnostic में the margin is somewhere between 32 to 40%, right? Other thing is, यहाँ पर भी अगर आप देखते हो, रेडियोलॉजी का margin is way higher compared to आपका normal pathology test. Assuming कि like शायद रेडियोलॉजी में ज्यादा आ जाए, शायद B2C में ज्यादा पुश आए. If I think about it that way, then I'm assuming कि like शायद 13% PAT margin. Who knows? They might end up doing 15% PAT margin also. You and I do not know. That is why मैंने बोला entire thing is based on assumption कि like ये करेगा, ठीक है? Imagine कि like now you can take this PAT margin number to be anything. You can take it 15. Some people can be overly bullish and take it 20% also, but that would be really foolish to do. Better be safe than sorry. That's my entire philosophy in the market also. So over here, if I take 13% का PAT margin, थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे PAT margin बढ़ सकता है and everything, then you will see the expected PAT can be somewhere between 36.4 to 39 crore. In that case, the 1 year forward PE is somewhere roughly between 14 to 16. So from the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, if you look at it, the 1 year forward PE, if you look at the range in which the business lies, is between 14 to 20, right? 14 to 19, in that range, for a 25 to 30% ka growth engine. So obviously this falls in a high growth, low PE category, right? When you have a high growth and low PE engine, and if the execution follows, remember over here, every high growth and low PE engine is not bound to make you money. There will be a lot of companies in the market jiska growth rate is like 50-60% ka guidance there hai. PE might be in a very single digit, that is there. The only way a business can go from high growth, low PE to high growth, high PE, this is when the business moves from, again, follow my hand, high growth, low PE se high growth, high PE hone ke liye, there is a journey. And this journey, we call it as PE re-rating. And jab ye PE re-rating hota hai, you and I as a shareholder, if you are invested, we make money in such kind of companies. Now, if it has to move from that high growth, low PE to high growth, high PE, one simple thing is needed over here, that is execution. If it can do execution over here, matlab, if it can open that 9, out that 7 freaking diagnostic centers that is there, if it can do that, and if it can do that 25 to 30% ka sales growth, jo usne chilla chilla ke bola hai, then I do not see why the PE rating can, why it cannot happen. But what is more important over here? Execution. The management has to walk the talk. That is the bottom line for everything, right? And we'll have to see, like, Q2 में आप देख लो 65 to 70 crore का revenue करना चाहिए on a Q2 basis, and they should check for the PAT margin, where it is heading towards. Is it going lesser than 10.5, or is it increasing or not? So that is more important. A lot of y'all might also ask me to do the balance sheet and cash flows, but the balance sheet and cash flows are of Q4 of FY25. We're already 6 months into FY26. It makes no sense to go dig up the past. And when you look at it from in the last 6 months, the business ka direction has changed so much. That is why I don't want to talk about balance sheet and cash flows. Maybe when the Q2 ka result come, anyways we will get balance sheet and cash flows, and we can further analyze and discuss about it. But ये मान के चलो यहाँ पे अगर इसका B2G का business है, receivables high होगा और इतना capex कर रहा है, receivables everything will be high, and वहाँ पे cash flow from operations will be negative. And if you're smart enough, and if you've got the investment checklist workshop, you know how to look at cash flows and not ignore a company just because a cash flow from operation is negative. So this is the entire thing. The last thing we will talk about is a risk, okay? Because obviously not everything is hunky-dory. If there is a business that is telling 25 to 30% growth karega, and it is available in a P that is lower than the growth rate, and then obviously there must be also something, right? Like not everything can be so hunky-dory. So first thing over here is, when you talk about it, if you look at the business, there is no moat. That's as honest I can get. Because when you're talking about a diagnostic center, like I told you, how are you separated from the other people? There is nothing. You have high competition, not just from the organized but also unorganized. Organized matlab aapka Dr. Lal, Thyrocare, Apollo, Tata 1mg. Unorganized aapka ye gali gali mein chota chota ek standalone ka rehta hai na ek building mein. That is your unorganized space. Now think about it. Like, I understand the doctor can refer you to, like, Chandan Healthcare, but ultimately if a patient is finding, let's say if Chandan Healthcare is 10 kilometers away, and there is some XYZ Healthcare who's doing a diagnostic center in 5 kilometer away and providing you a better pricing, then you would always prefer that, right? I understand these people are trying to be more organized and trying to tap the unorganized space in the T2 and Tier 3 city. In fact, 85% of the competition that Chandan Healthcare faces is from the unorganized space. So they're trying to go from, trying to capture that market share from that unorganized space. I'm not telling it's not possible. I'm not telling it's impossible, but we cannot deny the fact that there is competition, and the competition is intense, and there is no way of ignoring that. The other thing is also the pricing, right? You will always have to be competitive in terms of your pricing. Like that's just something that the customer does, right? Like compare the pricing and do over here. So यहाँ पे उतना advantage आपको शायद नहीं मिल सकता है. आपका pricing growth that is there, it can be very hard for you, because especially you're working in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, where people might not be as flexible to pay a premium, right? Because in Tier 1 cities, what I've really seen is people are willing to pay a premium, like they want that blood report faster, so they're willing to pay a premium. But I don't think that could be possible in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Pricing can always be a concern. Value growth can always be a concern. Your main the only way, I wouldn't say the only way, but a better way to get a get a price hike would be to shift more towards high value, high product margin businesses such as radiology, ultrasound, and ECG rather than normal culture. That is one. The third thing I would say, the biggest risk over here is the B2G part of the business. The B2G contributes, as you can see, around 20 to 22% to the total top line. Now, 20% आपका आ रहा है B2G से, right? मतलब, which means what? One thing that scares me with B2G, for someone who's tracked Krishna, from a very close thing, anytime the government can come and cancel your contracts. The worst thing is you might have agreed upon a pricing and the government can tell you, like, right, what, I need it to be even cheaper. And it might not be lucrative for you to operate in that environment. So you'll have to cancel the deal and get away, right? This is another thing. So the third thing with government is obviously the payments. You might have given the service to the customer, but the payments might take somewhere around 6, worst case scenario in 12 months. There is a high possibility of even a default happening with respect to your payments, right? So that is also another thing. The B2G portion gives me a little bit of an ick. It makes me to be a little bit of cautious, like, with respect to the business. Even the B2B portion also, like, it is still a huge part. It is still 30% of the diagnostic. Agar aap dekhte ho, 30% aa raha hai from the B2B. Now, obviously, you are working with a lot of hospitals and everything. But tomorrow, even these hospitals and other public sector companies, corporate, they can like change their contract, right? And go to some other healthcare also. You only have control at the end of the day with your own diagnostic centers. You can't rely much. So, I mean, I'm not telling ye ho sakta hai, but it is a risk. And if it is a risk, you need to highlight it. That is it. And obviously, it is, if you look at it, yahan pe, if you look at it, it might be very, it's not impossible, but difficult. Understand the difference. Not impossible, but difficult probably to get a premium valuation over here because of how diversified the business is, right? Matlab, आपका ये sale of product है, sale of service है, and you can see that sale of product का EBITDA margin is 6%. Like, that is completely hampering the margins here. Sale of services is having 32 to 40% का margins. So that is also another thing. Probably अगर ये pure diagnostic play होता ना, right? I could have done a P2P with even Thyrocare and Dr. Lal and everything. If it were a pure diagnostic play, मतलब 100% diagnostic play अगर होता, then it would have P rating iska tak 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 hota. I also do not know if they are planning to, probably reduce this pharmacy part of the business and push more and more. If that product mix we will see happening or not, right? Like, I mean, there is not much clarity, like I told you, ये लोग कॉन कॉल नहीं करता है. If अगर वो एक, वो मीठा सा एक, sentence बोलता है अपना कॉन कॉल में, या अपना कुछ भी conference, maybe some kind of business interview he does, whoever the management is, if they do it, and if they tell that one meta line, like, yes, we are pushing more towards the diagnostic space, getting the dependency down from the sale of products, then that one sentence is enough for you to PE career rating hona, because market is a forward-looking engine, right? Like, that one sentence would be enough. So this diversified business is also one of the reasons I believe, iska PE is thoda low. And obviously, since it's a market cap is like 572 crore, ye chota NSE ka chota player hai, right? Be cautious over here, with your allocation or anything, because float is very low, extremely low. So you might be, this is again, like, the thing is, there can be times where the business performance is extremely doing good, but the stock price might not reflect it. I mean, it's just what it is, right? Like, you can't really help it. This is one thing to note down. But the entire thing over here with Chandan Healthcare is, it comes down to one thing. Iska pricing ka utna kuch bhav nahi hai, matlab pricing ka, growth ka kuch nahi hai. Pure to pure volume का खेल है. कितना डायग्नोस्टिक सेंटर ये खोल सकते हैं, कितना ज्योग्राफी एक्सपेंशन कर सकते हैं, कर लो भाई. मतलब खोलो, हर एक गली में, हर एक देश का गली गली में ये खोलो. प्योर टू प्योर वॉल्यूम गेम है, और वॉल्यूम और एग्जीक्यूशन का है. एंड इफ दे कैन एग्जीक्यूट, मतलब इफ दिस founder has the same passion, has the same fire as Acharya Manish, because anybody, like, I mean, again, right, like, I've been telling you guys, if you watched any of my Gina ka video, every time I tell you one thing is like, don't read Gina ka con call. I want each and every one of you to listen to Gina ka con call. Don't read it. That is a one con call I'll tell you guys is like, listen. It takes an hour, but even play it at like 2x speed like me. Like, that's what I like to do. A lot of you guys complain that like I speak fast. You know what? Whenever I have to go back and like refer to one of my videos, I might have forgotten about the company. I play my own videos at 2x because I find it to be too slow. But anyways, coming back, we're digressing. Because the reason I ask you to like to listen to Gina's con call is there's a lot of difference between a CEO and a founder, like, like, and that is purely one thing, passion, because your business is like your child, it's like your baby, and you will do everything. You will make heaven and earth want to make your business successful. And I know that because I run one, and I can like completely relate to what Acharya Manish talks and how he talks. You can literally see his passion when he's talking. He doesn't care, like, doesn't care rat's ass shit about what anybody thinks of him, right? And if this founder has that same kind of, that mindset, that hunger for growth, bhai, like, bhai, kuch bhi ho jaye, like how the Acharya Manish thinks, like Gina will be the number one freaking Ayurvedic hospital, like, in India. Like, that is it. That's my vision. I'm going to do it. I'll kill myself in that process. I'll do it. If Chandan Healthcare ka founder also has that same kind of vision, like, go to hell, whatever the fuck. Like, I'm going to make Chandan Healthcare the great. And if they are able to have that vision, they have that hunger, and they're able to execute it, right, and able to do so very seamlessly, like what we have seen Gina and other businesses, Sky Gold and everything do, why not? Absolutely great. So one thing we need to track is execution. So let's hope, like in the upcoming in the upcoming quarter, that is Q2, these people do maybe somewhere around 65 to 70 crore. If they do that, really sweet. And we need to see, if the upcoming diagnostic centers that is there, that is the 7 diagnostic centers that are there, if it will be opened or not, right? So that's it with this entire video, which is Chandan Healthcare. Very chota. And a lot of you guys have been asking in the comment section for poly Medicure or something. I'll do that. I'll do that also, or probably I'll do that when Q2 ka numbers come. The reason I've also been doing this video is over here is, because a lot of these companies, a lot of small cap companies, what I've seen in Q1 of FY26 is, they've been very bullish. A lot, many small cap companies. You would have seen, we have discussed a couple of them in the Q1 FY26 portfolio analysis workshop also. So, like, why am I doing this video right now is we have the Q2 ka result season coming. So when the Q2 ka result season, Q2 ka numbers come, you know exactly what to look for, because you already have read about the company. Now you just have to track and see if they're walking the talk or not, because now we know what Chandan Healthcare is, what to do, what to expect. So kal jaake, all you have to do is check the result document and see ki, like, 65 to 70 crore, what is a PAT margin, where is a PAT margin inching towards increasing, decreasing, and the H2 में उन्होंने जो बोला था, like, the 7 diagnostic centers that are there, how many has been done, how many are in pipeline, as simple as that. So that is the whole reason of doing this video, so you people, because I understand a lot of you might be working and everything, right? There are too many commitments and everything, and if I can just help you guys like 1% and help you guys track another one more company, if I can help you guys, read another new business, and if I can help you add some sort of knowledge, like, I would feel like it's just, like, my work has been done. Like, that's a kind of fulfillment I would have. But anyways, that's that, guys, with the entire video. So let's hope and let's see what Chandan Healthcare does in Q2 of FY26. Okay, so that's that. Have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.